Welcome to the Fussball Geekz Festive Quiz Final. Over 2 heats, we've cut away the chaff, leaving us with 3 prime contenders this evening. Our finalists from Heat 1, we have Steve and Scragg. Good evening, Steve.
How are we doing, Phil?
Very well, mate, very well. How are you feeling about this evening's festivities?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally on for this. Yeah, enjoyed the semi-final. Yeah, felt all the topics fell in my favour, I think. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've got the same topics this time, mate. So, but you have got some really good competition here, because from Heat 2 we have Michael Hamlen. Michael, good evening. How are you, mate?
Not bad. Evening, Phil. How are you?
I'm very well. You've been revising, have you? I've been having a look through your stats books and that.
I certainly have. I have been reading and trying to update myself, especially after the semi-final. I think I might have peaked too soon, to be honest with you. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think I've peaked too soon as well. So yeah, the questions I tried to dilute them a bit because they were a bit tough, weren't they? But it's still going to be some tricky ones for you guys. But I think you're more than up to the battle. And our third contestant tonight is Peter Prickett. Peter, hello.
Hello, hi guys. Hope you're all well.
Yeah. So how are you enjoying this New Year's Eve?
It's nice and relaxed. It's I probably fall into the camp of people who think it's got a bit overrated and just settle in, have a quiet one, chill out.
Yeah. It's always the Rules Holland Hootenanny for me every single year. Hootenanny and a few kind of stiff drinks along the way, and that's it really. But guys, so now you've removed all the formidable obstacles to be here. Are you ready at these most peaceful and festive of times to wage quiz war?
About war.
Yeah, go on, hit us, go on.
No, it's not going to be war. It's going to be more of a kind of peaceful kind of peaceful conflict, shall we say? If there could ever be one, I doubt that. So the rules are simple, guys. 6 rounds, 5 questions per round, with the top point scorer earning the title of Fussball Geekz Festive Quiz Champion of 2023. Quite an accolade, I'm sure you'll agree, boys. So the first round we'll go ahead with, and tonight's first round is going to be the World Cup. As I say, there'll be 5 questions on the World Cup, so we'll start straight away. Question 1 is: against which side did 17-year-old Norman Whiteside make his World Cup finals debut? Question 1: against which side did 17-year-old Northern Irish forward Norman Whiteside make his World Cup finals debut? Number 2: what was the connecting factor between all of Austria's goals at World Cup 1998? They scored 3 during the World Cup 1998. But what was the connecting factor between all of Austria's goals at World Cup 1998? Number 3, name the Haitian forward who created shockwaves by giving the Caribbean island nation the lead against Italy at the 1974 World Cup finals. Name the Haitian forward who created shockwaves by giving the Caribbean island nation the lead against Italy at the 1974 World Cup finals. Number 4, boys. Where were the 1986 World Cup finals projected to take place before being eventually awarded to Mexico? Number 4, where were the 1986 World Cup finals projected to take place before eventually being awarded to Mexico? And question 5, who is the only player to score hat-tricks in 2 consecutive World Cup games? The only player to score hat-tricks in 2 consecutive World Cup games. I'll tell you what, for an extra bonus point, if you can tell me the 2 teams he scored against, you can have a point. I'll give you can have a point for both of those. So this will be like a 3-point question if you can name the teams. Okay. So we're going to move on now to round 2, which is South America. So question 1 of round 2. Who are the only South American nation to have never qualified for the World Cup finals? Who are the only South American nation to have never qualified for the World Finals? Question 2 with the South America questions. Name one of only 2 Peruvian clubs to reach the Copa Libertadores final. An extra point if you can name both of them. Number 3, who coached Argentina to World Cup glory in 1986? And number 4, the nearest guess wins on this one, guys. So how many times have Penarol won the Uruguayan title? So how many times have Penarol won the Uruguayan title? So nearest one gets a point on that one, guys. And number 5, who are the only Chilean winners of the Copa Libertadores? Who are the only Chilean winners of the Copa Libertadores? Boys, do you need any of those questions repeated before we start scoring those first 2 rounds?
What was 2 on South America?
2 on South America was named the only 2 Peruvian clubs to reach the Copa Libertadores final. And an extra point if you can name both of them. So 2 points there. Okay, so I'm going to go through the answers, guys. So against which side did 17-year-old Northern Irish forward Norman Whiteside make his World Cup finals debut? And boys, that was Yugoslavia. So if you got Yugoslavia, give yourself a point. What was the connecting factor between all of Austria's goals at the World Cup finals of 1998? Connecting factor, all 3 goals were scored after the 90th minute.
Nearly went for that.
Nah. Should have done, man. Should have done. Number 3, name the Haitian forward who created shockwaves by giving the Caribbean island nation the lead against Italy at the 1974 World Cup, and that was Emmanuel Sanon. Number 4, where were the 1986 World Cup finals projected to take place before eventually being awarded to Mexico? And that was Colombia. And number 5, who is the only player to score hat-tricks in 2 consecutive World Cup games? And it was, of course, the bomber Gerd Müller. And 2 countries that he scored those consecutive hat-tricks against were Bulgaria and Peru. So an extra point for either of those guys, and a point, of course, if you've got Gerd Müller right as well. So moving on to round 2 answers. Who are the only South American nation to have never qualified for the World Cup finals? The answer is Venezuela. Question number 2. Name one of only 2 Peruvian clubs to reach the Copa Libertadores final. One is Sporting Cristal, and the other is Alianza of Lima. Number 3, who coached Argentina to World Cup glory in 1986? It was, of course, Carlos Bilardo. And guys, I'm going to ask you to each pitch your answer on this one. Nearest guess wins. How many times have Penarol won the Uruguayan title? And we'll go with Steve first. Go on, Steve. You go first.
52.
Okie dokie. And Michael.
55.
55. And Peter.
51.
Stephen.
Sorry.
53 times. You get the extra point on that one, though. 53 times Penarol have won the Uruguayan title. Well done, mate. That was good. Well done. All very close, but I'm afraid that Steve pinches it by a nose. There we go. Yeah. And number 5, who are the only Chilean winners of the Copa Libertadores? And that was Colo Colo. Right, so guys, that's 2 rounds put to bed now. So, Steve, do you have any? What does 2024 hold in store for you? You got any plans? Any projects on the bubble?
Yeah, the 1980s series is still ongoing at these football times. A couple of episodes to finish before we hand it on to the 90s kids, which Rob Fletcher will be running with that one. There'll be I think a handover episode 89, 90. But then as soon as squad numbers and names on the back of shirts kick in, then I'm out. I'm handed on to the next generation. I think by the time that squad numbers kick in, I'm of legal age in the pub. I can drive a car and stuff like that. There's other distractions going on. Girls are knocking around. It's I'm not interested in a whole new ball game. I want the old ball game, and once the old ball game stops, then that's it for me. Beyond that, I've got a book to finish to push over the finish line on Euro '88. So yeah, to complete the set. The UEFA Cup, the Cup Winners' Cup, the European Cup, a World Cup, and a European Championship.
That sounds amazing.
And then it's time to move on to non Broads tournament centric books. I think.
A kind of new path after that. It sounds like handing over to Rob Fletcher. It sounds like a Doctor Who moment with you. I'll cast you as a Tom Baker, handing it over to
very much so. I'll have a striped scarf on for that episode, I think.
And it'll be Peter Davidson in his Shawboater, I would imagine, something like that. For those who get the cultural reference, I'm sure we're just a pair of old boys, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Some people might not get that. Oh, that's amazing. So, guys, after 2 rounds, can I take your scores off you? So, Steve, how many did you score on those first 2 rounds, mate?
I got 3 points for round 1 and all 5 for round 2. Which Dr. Pete Watson, who we do the South America Files podcast episodes, would have been absolutely mortified with me had I not come up with a clean sweep of South American answers.
Well, you have, mate. So you've protected yourself there, your own dignity, and kept your reputation intact. So, Michael, how many have you scored over those 2 rounds, mate?
I've got 3 and 3, so we're on 6.
Oh, not bad. Still heavily in contention. And Peter, what did you get, mate?
I have 5 points.
Oh, so an early front runner in Stephen, and we've got Michael and Peter shortly beyond, but still within touching distance. So we'll move on, shall we, boys? We'll move on to round 3. Okay, and round 3 today is one that's I think that this is heavily in the favour of Steve. Again, seeing as he's written a book on the European Cup. But everybody loves the European Cup, so hopefully there's points to be had for everyone here. So the first question of the European Cup questions is, right, Atletico Madrid, blank, Saint Etienne. Which club concludes this trilogy? Atletico Madrid, blank, Saint Etienne. Which club concludes this trilogy? Question 2. Which club did Liverpool defeat at the semi-final stage to reach the 2005 Champions League final? Number 2, which club did Liverpool defeat at the semi-final stage to reach the 2005 Champions League final? Number 3, which Bulgarian side ended Nottingham Forest's 2-year reign as European champions, beating them 2-0 on aggregate in the 1980-81 edition of the tournament? So which Bulgarian side ended Nottingham Forest's 2-year reign as European champions, beating them 2-0 on aggregate in the 1980-81 edition of the tournament? Number 4, Which Scottish champions beat West German champions Cologne 8-1 in the 1962-63 version of the European Cup? Which Scottish champions beat West German champions Cologne 8-1 in the 1962-63 edition of the European Cup? And question 5, guys. What was the venue for the 1992-93 European Cup first round playoff between Leeds and Stuttgart? So what was the venue for the 1992-93 European Cup first round playoff between Leeds and Stuttgart? We're moving swiftly on. We're going to go on to round 4, boys. Okay. Round 4 is the British game. And the first question of this round is, which Sunderland, Man City and England forward joined New York Cosmos in 1978? Which Sunderland, Man City and England forward joined New York Cosmos in 1978? Question number 2. Which French international forward joined Aston Villa on loan in 1983? Which French international forward joined Aston Villa on loan in 1983? Question number 3. In the British Isles, which is the most southernly united? Question 3. In the British Isles, which is the most southernly united? Question number 4. Which Scottish club were crowned champions for the only time in their history in 1964-1965 season, ahead of Hearts on the flawed metric of goal ratio? Which Scottish club were crowned champions for the only time in their history in 1964-65, ahead of Hearts on the flawed metric of goal ratio? And number 5, name the first Polish footballer to grace England's top tier. Okay, guys. So, anyone need a repeat on any of those questions?
Sorry, what was that? The total goldfish there. What was the 5th question?
It was name the first Polish footballer to grace England's top tier. The first Polish footballer. Okay, we'll come to Michael in a bit and ask about his escapades in 2024 in a short while. But I'll give you the answers to this first, and then we'll see where the scores lie after that, and then we'll move on. So, question number 1 of the European Cup quintet was Atletico Madrid, blank St Etienne. Which club concludes this trilogy? Yeah, and it wasn't, of course, Leeds United. Okay, they're the opponents that Bayern Munich faced in the 1974, 1975 and 1976 European Cup final. So Leeds United for a point there, boys. Okay. Question number 2. Which club did Liverpool defeat at the semi-final stage to reach the 2005 Champions League final? And it was Chelsea. With the did that ball cross the line, Steve? Peter?
Absolutely.
Miles over.
I'd struggle with that. If I got that question, it'd be really, really kind of like, I forgot that one wrong. I was at that one as well. I was at that match, so it's kind of like, I had the double, the double reason for getting it right. Yeah,
and your immediate impact when you were at the ground, it was over the line.
Absolutely. I still, if I close my eyes for long enough, I still see Ida Johnsson's last gasp effort flash wide of the post at the top end.
I remember that. Yeah, it was right across the face of the goal, missed the far post by about a millimetre, didn't it? I recall that. Yeah. So number 3, which Bulgarian side ended Nottingham Forest's 2-year reign as European champions in 1980-81, and it was CSKA Sofia. Question number 4. Which Scottish champions beat Cologne 8-1 in the 1962-63 version of the European Cup? It was Dundee. And question number 5, what was the venue for the 1992-93 European Cup first round playoff between Leeds and Stuttgart? It was the Camp Nou in Barcelona, with Spalding United forward Carl Schutt scoring the winner. Impossibly the most iconic moment of his career, I would imagine. So moving on to the British game answers, guys. Which Sunderland, Man City and England forward joined New York Cosmos in 1978? It was Dennis Chewett. Question number 2, which French international forward joined Aston Villa on loan in 1983? It was Didier Cisse. Number 3, this one sometimes troubles people. The most southernly United in the British Isles. It is Torquay United. Number 4, which Scottish club were crowned champions for the only time in their history in 1964-1965 season, ahead of Hearts on the flawed metric of goal ratio? It was Kilmarnock. And question number 5, name the first Polish footballer to grace the English top tier. It was Kazimierz Dana, who joined Man City. I think it was 1979 that he joined them. Kazimierz Dana. So, boys, how are we doing after those rounds? Steve, what did you score in those 2, mate?
Yeah, clean sweep again for the European Cup, which,
Excellent.
you know, I wrote the book. I think that's totally unfair. And and I got 4 out of 5 for the British round, so that was 9 across the 2.
And that takes you up to 17. And Michael, what did you score, mate?
I got 3 for the European Cup and 2 for the British Games, so I'm on 11.
11, okay. And Peter?
I got the same as Stephen in that. I got 9 in those 2.
Ooh, that's great. So at present scores, we have Stephen marching ahead on 17. Peter, who's leapt into second place on 14 points. And third in the bronze medal position at the moment, we have Michael on 11. Boys, that's good scoring, though. You're doing really well. Fantastic. It's a lot tighter than the first heat, but I don't want to disparage the guys who are in that too much. But it was quite evident after the first couple of rounds who was going through. So yeah. So Steve, well done there, mate. But moving over to you, Michael, what have you got in store for 2024?
Well, I've got lots of ideas and lots of plans, but not much time to do them as per usual. So, yeah, there's just a few ideas that I keep knocking around in writing wise. I always keep going back to sort of doing Nigeria in the 90s or Colombia in the 90s, and I always want to looking at France. I always keep coming back to France, but they're just ideas that I just do not have the time to do with my day job. And unfortunately, my with the kids and the missus as well, it just takes up too much time. But it will get done one day, as long as someone else doesn't do it first. So please, the other guys, don't do it in the meantime. And but the page, the 80s, 90s football page will keep going. We'll still keep doing that every day. That takes a lot of time up in itself. So yeah, as I said, there's ideas. I always want to start my own podcast as well, but I don't know how to do the techie bit like you do, Phil. So that idea always gets shelved as well. But yeah, maybe one day we'll do it all.
It sounds like the stuff of a podcast, the Nigeria one, mate. So maybe we'll do that first. Maybe have your.
Well, there you go, Phil. That's another. That's giving me an incentive to do it, then, isn't it? It's definitely an area looking at the late 80s and the 90s, and then you then hit sort of the 93 period. When the Zambia air crash, and they then win the African nations a year after, and then they go to the World Cup, and then you got the Olympics, the amazing Olympic run in Atlanta. So yeah. There's definitely some scope and some mileage in that, I think.
Yeah, fascinating story, mate. We'll have to have a look at that in the future. Yeah, that sounds great. So moving on, guys, we're going to move on to I believe it's the 5th round, isn't it? Fifth set of questions, and it's the one that everyone had a few people with heads in hands last time, but we'll give it a whirl anyway. It's behind the Iron Curtain. Okay, so the first question in the behind the Iron Curtain round. Which Czechoslovakian side were European Cup semi-finalists in 1968, 1969 and quarter-finalists in both 1973 and 1974? Which former Czechoslovakian side were European Cup semi-finalists in 1968, 1969, and quarter-finalists in both 1973 and 1974? So, moving on to number 2. Which divisive East German football club won 10 consecutive DDR Oberliga titles between 1979 and 1988? Which divisive East German football club won 10 consecutive DDR Oberliga titles between 1979 and 1988? Question number 3. Which former Yugoslavian side beat Leeds United to win the 1966-67 Intercity Fairs Cup? Which former Yugoslavian side beat Leeds United to win the 1966-67 Intercity Fairs Cup? Question number 4. Name the Albanian side who beat Barcelona 1-0 in the 1987-88 UEFA Cup third round. Name the Albanian side who beat Barcelona 1-0 in the 1987-88 UEFA Cup third round. And number 5, name the Soviet coach who guided the USSR to their European Championship win in 1960. Name the Soviet coach who guided the USSR to their Euro Championship win in 1960. Okay. So I'll give you the scores after we've spoken to Peter, because Pete, you've got an exciting development in the offing, haven't you? There's a new podcast coming up that's running in tandem with your fantastic book, Moments that Change Football Forever. Do you want to tell us a bit about that, mate?
Yes, we released the first episode just before New Year. And what we've done is we've asked people if they fancy coming on and asked them to pick a subject from the book, or they can pick their own what if moment if they choose to. We've got quite a few recorded and in the can, and looking to do it as a season. Pete and I are still in discussions as to exactly how many episodes constitute a season. If 11 is being favoured because Pete says 11 players in the team, perfect for football, and so we'll try and get there, give it a little breather, line up another set of guests, and off we go.
Fantastic. It's an incredibly fun concept. We talked about it before we came on air, because what ifs are kind of limitless, aren't there? There's so many. But what's the one in the new podcast about? What's your subject this week?
So the first chat was on Real Madrid and the concept of what if the team that dominated the European Cup in the beginning, in the early days, won 5 in a row, faced off against the Galacticos in a fantasy match.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I suspect superior fitness would always play a part in that. Necessarily technique.
Where we do a few fantasy matchups, and my rules, because I've written all of them, are I rule out fitness as a factor, because you assume that any team, any professional side from however far you go back, if they were training now as professionals, they would be just as fit as the other professionals. So I yield to that they get the same level of fitness. But what we can't give them, or I won't give them, is modern tactics. So one of the more controversial ones is, where if Brazil 1970 play the great Spanish team that won 3 consecutive tournaments. Brazil don't press. The 1970 team don't play for any pressing brand of football. That may have been down to the heat, but no one pressed at that tournament. So because they don't do any pressing, I just couldn't answer the question how Spain actually got the ball, or how Brazil, got the ball back from Spain.
Yeah.
So they'd have the weapons, they'd have the talent, but tactically, I think I gave the edge to Spain there.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting variants that have to be considered, aren't there? It's great. It's great. I'll be tuning into that, mate, and look forward to listening to those. It's a fantastic concept, and you and Peter are doing a great job on it. So congratulations on that. Really, really good. So what we'll do now, guys, we'll just score the last round. And hopefully that will build the tension for the final. Hopefully you'll still be within touching distance of each other, and we can build up to a real exciting finale. That's the plan anyway. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So the first question of the Behind the Iron Curtain round: which former Czechoslovakian side were European Cup semi-finalists in 1968, 1969, and quarter-finalists in both 1973 and 1974. It was Spartak Trnava. Spartak Trnava. Number 2, which divisive East German football club won 10 consecutive DDR Oberliga titles between 1979 and 1980? And it was the much maligned Stasi club, BFC Dynamo Berlin. Number 3, which former Yugoslavian side beat Leeds United to win the 1966-67 Intercity Fairs Cup? It was Dynamo Zagreb. Number 4, name the Albanian side who beat Barcelona 1-0 in the 1987-88 UEFA Cup third round, the furthest any Albanian side had gone in any European tournament before or since, and that was Flamatari Vlor, or just Flamatari. Number 5, name the Soviet coach who guided the USSR to their Euro Championship win in 1960. It was Gavril Kachalin. Gavril Kachalin. So, guys, looking in retrospect at the scores for that round, Steve, how many did you get on that round, buddy?
I only got the 2 on that one.
Oh, that's this could be a window of opportunity for the other guys here. Michael, how many did you get, mate?
2 as well.
2 as well, so up to 13, keeping that distance between the competitors. And Peter, what was your score there, mate?
Clean sweep of 2s.
Oh, right. Okay. So we are where we were, really. We've got Steve on 16 points. Steve on 19 points, Peter on 16, and Michael on 13. But still a pretty good horde, guys. It's I think that's the best horde we've had at this stage in all the heats. So we're going to move on to the final round, which is name the club. Okay, the make and break of the tournament. We'll see where this leads us. Name the club. Number 1, name the French League A club who play their home games at Stade de la Minoire. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'll spell Minoire, Meinau. Stade de la Minoire. I'm probably going to get loads of French people saying, "Oh, that's completely wrong." But you know, I did my best. I did my best. It's not my first language. It's not even my second language. My first language is English. My second's Brummy. So yeah, I'm like completely lost. Number 2, name the club who beat Rangers on penalties in the 1971-72 European Cup Winners' Cup second round, but still lost the tie. Name the club who beat Rangers on penalties in the 1971-72 European Cup Winners' Cup second round, but still lost the tie. Bit of a wheel one there. I might ask Steve to fill us in on the details on that if he's got it right a little bit later. Number 3, name the European club who won 7 consecutive titles between 2001 and 2008, but have not won one before or since. So they won 7 consecutive titles between 2001 and 2008, but didn't win one before then and haven't won one since. And number 4, name the club that in their only European final beat Barcelona to win the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1969. And question number 5. When Magdeburg beat Milan in the 1974 European Cup Winners' Cup final, what was the venue? Okay. So, guys, we'll go straight into answers now, and this will decide who's our champion for this year. So, the first one, name the French League A club who play their home games at Stade de la Mémoire, and that is Racing Club Strasbourg. So, Strasbourg, guys. You got Strasbourg, that's a point on the board for you. Name the club who beat Rangers on penalties in 1971-1972, European Cup Winners' Cup second round, but still lost the tie. And the club were Sporting Lisbon. Did you get that one, Steve?
I've actually forgotten what club it was, but I know the story.
Yeah, do you want to tell us?
The 1971-72 European Cup, all I can ever see is, apart from stylistically beautiful Ajax winning it, is the offensive Coke can, the kind of Coke that knocked out Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah.
Despite having put 7 past Inter. But yes, the referee was unfamiliar with the concept of away goals. The Rangers should have been through on away goals. Insisted that a penalty shootout took place with the scores level on aggregate. Sporting won the penalty shootout, but then by the time that Rangers get back to the dressing room, a couple of the players are kind of like nudging each other, saying we're through. And sure enough, a knock on the door came. The UEFA, a man in a UEFA suit tips up to say, yes, you have progressed to the next round of the European Cup, not your opponents.
Yeah, and of course, Rangers went on to win the European Cup Winners' Cup that year as well. So it was a double whammy for them. A bit of luck in the second round, and they went on to win it. So, crazy story. That is unbelievable, really.
Absolutely.
In the modern era, that would never happen, surely. Or maybe we'll be looking at one of these at the end of the season. There'll be something there's always something that happens that's a first, isn't there? So, long may it rain, I say.
Absolutely.
And number 3, name the European club who won 7 consecutive league titles between 2001 and 2008, but have won none before or since. And that was Olympique Lyonnais. They won the first title in 2001, won 7 on the bounce, and apropos of nothing had won them, and they haven't won any since. So I'm sure there was money involved somewhere there. Gotta be. And number 4, name the club that in their only European final beat Barcelona to win the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1969. And that was Slovan Bratislava. Yeah, beat Barcelona at St. Jacobs, which seemed like every single European Cup Winners' Cup final seemed to take place there. It was like the perennial venue. It was a bit like Heysel, wasn't it? Heysel and St. Jacobs were always the venue. But question number 5, another venue question. The 1974 European Cup Winners' Cup final between Magdeburg and Milan. What was the venue for that? And it was De Coupe Feyenoord Stadium. So if you've got Feyenoord Stadium, you can have that. And De Coupe, that's it. That's a point, guys. So, boys, let's see how we're doing now. This is what's going to decide it. So we'll go from Michael and work our way in the other direction. Michael, how many did you score that round? Right,
I've got another 2.
Another 2. So that takes you up to 15, mate. Peter, how many did you get on that one?
3.
That takes you level with Steve. So we're looking on Steve. Steve's got a 0 here. We've got a shared prize. Steve, have you got a 0?
I've got a 3 as well.
Oh, well, mate, what that does, obviously, well done. Congratulations. That earmarks you as our champion this year. So to the winner of the spoils, to our other finalists, while they can content themselves in the knowledge that they played an absolute blinder. So well done, boys. That was fantastic. And I'd like to thank you guys for being here for us, and thank you for listening and supporting Fussball Geekz this year, to all our listeners out there. And I wish you a very happy and prosperous 2024. Guys, thank you, and good night, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Cheers, Dom.
Cheers.